Brazil Carnival, something like this. Okay, everybody is here. I can ring the bell, hear the bell. So the show is about to begin. So let's begin by taking refuge and generating enlightened mind attitude, and also the four immeasurables as a foundation for our practice. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. Until I have reached full awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By means of beneficial actions such as generosity, may I attain enlightenment in order to benefit beings. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings find happiness in the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering in the cause of suffering. May they not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering. May they abide in great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Let's begin with a moment, breathing in, breathing out. Whatever we have been doing so far, before we arrived here, we let it fade away into the past, and whatever we might leave it on hold for now. And we just in this moment. Now that we are fully present, Amen, we can notice what is. And we begin with our posture. There is a direct connection between our body, our posture, and the state of our mind. Subtle energies move throughout our body and in turn will affect the state of our mind. So when our body is properly sitting, those energies are properly channeled and the mind can find peace and equipoise. So first we notice the contact with the ground, whether we sit directly on the floor or we sit on a chair. we can sense the stability we gain through this contact. We know we are supported, we know we are firmly rooted, and we may have a sense of gratitude for this kind support we receive from the earth. Our hands may be resting palms down, flat on our thighs, or in the meditation gesture, that is the right hand in the left, both resting in the lap. Our back is straight, without unnecessary tension. Our shoulders are slightly outstretched, so that our back is not caving. And as we breathe in and out, we can sense our belly relaxing, and we begin to feel where is our center of gravity, slightly below the navel. This will help us to gain the sense of balance. Our chin is slightly tucked in, but the neck remains free. The lips and the teeth are relaxed, and the tongue is lightly touching the palate. Breath comes and goes mostly through our nostrils in a natural fashion that we don't need to alter. We simply notice the movement, either by following as we inhale and exhale, or just noticing the air coming in through our nostrils when we breathe in and going out of our nostrils when we breathe out. Our gaze, eyes half closed in a soft and open vision of what is directly in front of us. Find it more comfortable to keep your eyes closed, please do so. Thoughts and sense perceptions will arise, and there's no problem with this. We're not here to suppress thoughts or any sense stimulations we become aware of. We're into a train of thoughts. Now and then we will notice that we've been carried away, and as soon as we become aware of this, far from scolding ourselves, we simply disengage from whatever conversation we had, and we come back maybe for a while to our breath. Poise, both in the body and in the mind. Thoughts are not our enemies. We don't have to suppress them violently, but we don't have to entertain them. We just let our mind be. And if there is something that we need to pacify, is in the mind of the meditator, the need to control and organize and suppress and select and name and label, all of this superimposition of concept or sense perception emerging and disappearing very quickly. All of this superimposition is the cause of tension and suffering, and we don't need to do it. But it's an old habit. So we have to be very careful and mindful, and when we see this habit kicking in, simply just let it go. And if this is too complicated to begin with, then come back to the breath, sort of distract yourself from the distraction. And as you abide there, whether there are thoughts or not, will not make a difference. Mind will find peace and clarity and a sense of spaciousness. When you notice this in your mind, simply abide in this experience. No need to look for something further at this point. Feel free to stretch. This morning I was reading some excerpt from the text of Shantideva, the Bodhisattva-charya Avatara, which means the way of the Bodhisattva, entering the way of the Bodhisattva. And in my morning research, I found a very interesting work from somebody who made a sort of a really tried to condense in less pages this huge work of Shantideva. And one of the lines, the stanza that I remember from the studies, just came back to my memory. And I found it was quite appropriate to our times and what we go through now. And it's about hope. It's about hope and about the opposite of hope, with anxiety. And Shantideva tried to really cut, as usual. He has a very incisive mind, and he's really how do you okay. And so he says, around me, I see that in the whole or uneasiness way, they also create more cause for suffering. And we can always see that, like what I call the bad move. Like it seemed to be a good idea, but in the end it was not. And we're going from one bad idea, or looking like a good idea, to another good idea, looking, promising, and it always flops. And then because it flops, then we want to get out of this, and then we want to find a good idea, and so we move to the next good idea. And basically, the reflection was on hope, and the fact that if hope is not grounded in a genuine assessment of reality, it becomes delusion. And it creates a fairy tale. It's like Santa Claus night. It's fine for a child to dance around the Christmas tree in the hope to get into a mask. But if you set up this as a system, all the time hoping for goodies to come, what you create, and you nourish delusion, you nourish the hope, the deluded hope, that brings more disappointment and more suffering. So for hope to be really fruitful, it has to be anchored in a real assessment, sort of a childish excitement of something great that will happen. And then for suffering to be overcome, we also have, or we need also to have a true understanding of the reality. What are the causes of this suffering? And not trying to outsource the suffering or the responsibility somewhere else, in some sort of alternative universe or somebody else, so that we can be free of this. We have the hot potato, we don't like it, so we throw it somewhere else. it's not solving the problem. It's actually only sort of projecting it elsewhere, and it will bounce back because it was not solved, so it comes back. So hope and the desire to be free from suffering are legitimate aspirations for every living being, every sentient being. There's no question about this. But Shantideva reminds us, how do you create happiness and how do you bring suffering to an end, the cessation of suffering, truly, in a sustainable way? It's by being anchored in reality and looking at reality. And this is very difficult. This is very difficult because we always want to cut a deal. We want to have the best product for the cheapest price, you know? And for example, we buy all this cheap equipment and we think that's a great deal, but we don't know the real price. The environmental price, the social price. We're so excited by the good deal that we don't want to. And if somebody is pointing out this reality, you know, I said, like, you're raining on my Christmas parade. Let me enjoy my cheap happiness. So we create a belief system. We don't need to face and deal with reality. We can play with illusion, and that's going to be fine. We totally grasp this to a point that it becomes unconscious. At some point, it just disappears. We don't see it. It's underground, and we don't see it. And we're just dancing, you know, around the Christmas tree. So here Shantideva is saying, like, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to see that all my fellow human, sentient beings at large, have a legitimate aspiration for the freedom from suffering. And because they're afraid to work with or not used to or unaware of reality, they entertain a childish that promotes delusion, based on delusion, promotes delusion, and never really address the core problem. And then there's no solution, there's no end, because the hope to run away from suffering in a disorderly fashion creates more cause for more suffering. The childish hope for that is not connected with reality brings disappointment. Every so often we hope and we're disappointed because we have externalized what is the source of our happiness. We think that it's somewhere out there and I need to reach it. And if I reach it, you know, it's going to be fine. You know, and as American, you know, this is really at the core of our culture, the American dream. You know, and that's I don't know if I should quote him here, but George Carlin said, "The American dream, you really need to be deeply asleep to believe in this shit." Excuse my French. So, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. You know, the American dream is not that it's going to happen without us doing anything, you know, but we can have the hope for liberty and, you know, life and the pursuit of happiness. But as Benjamin Franklin said, regarding the pursuit of happiness, it is guaranteed by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and so on. But about the attainment, it really depends on you. So we guarantee the capacity of the pursuit, but not the attainment. So this is really the American dream. These three goals, but we have to work for that. And the first thing is we have to be anchored in reality. And you know, it sounds like a little bit of a political talk, but it's not really far from what the Buddha taught. It's not really far what Shantideva said. there is no way you can free yourself from what created your suffering. Because it's your own delusion that created your suffering. Outer circumstances are just secondary agent. The main cause is in our delusion, not knowing reality and having a warped perception of reality. That's delusion. And if our dream needs the delusion, it's a fake dream. It leads only to suffering. So the hope and the dream are two different things. Hope is based on reality. You know the reality which is not pleasant to see. But if you can see it and have the courage, the patience, the generosity to withstand the vision of reality, then you may begin to see where it comes from. Second of the Four Noble Truths. But the first one is, you have to look at it. You can't just hope it will disappear or create a sort of, a cheap version, a la-la land of some sort. And of course it's exhausting to look at reality, and of course it's sort of like scary at times. But frankly, the Buddha told it, at length, there is no other way. There is no other way. And Shantideva say the same. I'm so sorry for you guys. You could do it. We all have everything it takes to do it, but we want a cheap version of it. We don't want to see the problem, We just want to have the bacon and not the broccolis. Or just the broccoli and not the bacon, depends, maybe you're vegan. Make selective choices, and that perpetuates the illusion, the American delusion. But it's going to take a lot of courage, and I'm not here to address the State of the Union, but I think that I'm talking to each of you individually. Please make your best, try your best to be really connected with reality, and then on the basis of reality discover what you can do to change habits and become a little bit more kind and with yourself and others, and all of that. You know the drill. The process of mind training is clearly readable and available in a lot of texts, but the most important is to put it into our practice. So how do we do that? I would say meditation creates a very big open space, like this meditation hall. It's a big open space where we can sit. So it's important to give ourselves times as often as possible where we can sit and in a very brave way look at this mind. So in the introduction I was saying, don't try to suppress this and promote that, because that's the usual delusional way of dealing with reality. Let your mind be. It doesn't mean you promote its habits and negative tendencies and whatnot. No, you let your mind be and you look at it and you see how it works. And you begin to have a very clear and direct relation to the mind, the state of mind, the emotions in the mind. And you also begin to see that if you let go this habit of selecting, I hope this and I reject that, I hope for this and I reject that. If you let go of this, there's a peace, there's a silence that will allow awareness. And this awareness is the key factor for liberation. Because the reality has many layers. There is not one truth. There are many layers that we need to discover through our meditation. The first one is to find peace in our mind so that we can see. We can look at mind and we can see. And then eventually we begin to see more and more that the so-called subject that is struggling doesn't truly exist outside of the relation to the object that is the object of struggle or the object of desire or or whatever. There's an interdependent relationship. There's a mutual causality. And all of this is just how none of this has really in-depth, enduring, autonomous reality. That's the ultimate liberation. As my wife reminded me of Krishnamurti the other day, talking about freedom, and Krishnamurti said, it depends on something to be freed from. As long as you have an object of reference that will be the object of your freedom, then you are still in the duality. So you have to move beyond. But to move beyond as the stepping stone, the starting point. And if you can't do that, then you'll be in a roller coaster of open fear. And Shantideva va say, and I'm always here to help you. You can read it again and again until, this sort of light goes through the cracks in your skull and touch your heart, So meditation is a good beginning. So let's go back to meditation. If it's a good beginning, could be a good continuation. Meditation by through this merit may I attain true omniscience, then having overcome all harmful destructive forces, may I liberate sentient beings from the ocean of existence and its turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness and death. May the most precious never decline, may it continue to increase evermore. Very much, and wish you a very good day, and see you next Sunday.